Welcome back to Goosebumps with Frank. I'm Frank. We're reading R.L. Stine's Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. Last episode, Jerry started lessons with Dr. Shriek. Let's see what they've learned. Chapter 6. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I practiced the notes on pages 2 and 3 of the piano workbook. The book showed which finger to use and everything. This is easy, I thought. So when could I start playing some rock and roll? I was still picking out notes when Mom surfaced from the basement and poked her head into the family room. Her hair came loose from the bandana she had tied around her head. She had dirt smudges on her forehead. Did Dr. Shriek leave early? She asked, surprised. Yeah. He said he just wanted to meet me, I told her. He's coming back next Saturday. He said I had excellent hands. You do? She brushed the hair out of her eyes. Well, maybe you can take those excellent hands down to the basement and use them to help us unpack some boxes. Oh, no, I cried, and I slid off the piano bench and fell to the floor. She didn't laugh. That night, I heard piano music. I sat straight up in bed and listened. The music floated up from downstairs. I climbed out of bed. The floorboards were cold under my bare feet. I was supposed to have a carpet, but Dad hadn't had time to put it down yet. The house was silent. Through my bedroom window, I could see a gentle snow coming down, tiny fine flakes, gray against the black sky. Someone is playing the piano, I said out loud, startled by the huskiness of my sleep-filled voice. Someone is downstairs playing my piano. Mom and Dad must hear it, I thought. Their room is at the far end of the house, but they are downstairs. I must hear it. I crept to my bedroom door. The same slow, sad melody. I had been humming it just before dinner. Mom had asked me where I'd heard it, and I couldn't remember. I leaned against the doorframe, my heart pounding, and listened. The music drifted up so clearly I could hear each note. Who is playing? Who? I had to find out. Trailing my hand along the wall, I hurried down the dark hallway. There was a nightlight by the stairway, but I always forget to turn it on. I made my way to the stairs. Then, gripping the wooden banister tightly, I crept down, one step at a time, trying to be silent, trying not to scare the piano player away. The wooden stairs creaked quietly under my weight, but the music continued, soft and sad, almost mournful. Tiptoeing and holding my breath, I crossed the living room. A streetlight cast a wash of pale yellow across the floor. Through the large window, I could see tiny snowflakes drifting down. I nearly tripped over an unpacked carton of vases left next to the coffee table, but I grabbed the back of the couch and kept myself from falling. The music stopped, then started again. I leaned against the couch, waiting for my heart to stop pounding so hard. Where are Mom and Dad? I wondered, staring down the back hallway where their room was. Can't they hear the piano too? Aren't they curious? Don't they wonder who's in the family room in the middle of the night playing such a sad song? I took a deep breath and pushed myself away from the couch. Slowly, silently, I made my way through the dining room. It was darker back there. No light from the street. I moved carefully, aware of all the chairs and table legs that could trip me up. The door to the family room stood just a few feet ahead of me. The music grew louder. I took a step, then another. I moved into the open doorway. Who is it? Who is it? I peered into the darkness. But before I could see, someone uttered a horrifying shriek behind me and shoved me hard, pushing me down to the floor. Chapter 7. I hit the floor hard on my knees and elbows. Another loud shriek right in my ears. My shoulders throbbed with pain. The lights came on. Bonkers! I roared. The cat leapt off my shoulders and scurried out of the room. Jerry, what are you doing? What's going on? Mom demanded angrily as she ran into the room. What's all the racket? Dad was right behind her, squinting without his glasses. "Bonkers jumped on me!" I screamed, still on the floor. "Ah, my shoulder, that stupid cat." "But Jerry," Mom started. She bent to help pull me up. "That stupid cat," I fumed. "She jumped down from that bookshelf, and she scared me half to death. And look at my pajama shirt." The cat's claws had ripped right through the shoulder. "Are you cut, or are you bleeding?" Mom asked, pulling the shirt collar down to examine my shoulder. "We really have to do something about that cat," Dad muttered. "Jerry's right. She is a menace." Mom immediately jumped to Bonker's defense. "She was just frightened, that's all. She probably thought Jerry was a burglar." "A burglar!" I shrieked in a voice so high only dogs could hear me. "How could she think I was a burglar? Aren't cats supposed to see in the dark?" "Well, what were you doing down here, Jerry?" Mom asked, straightening my pajama shirt collar. She patted my shoulder, as if that would help. "Yeah, why are you skulking around down here?" Dad demanded, squinting hard at me. He could barely see a thing without his glasses. "I wasn't skulking around," I replied angrily. "I heard piano music, and—" "You what?" Mom interrupted. "I heard piano music in the family room, so I came down to see who was playing." My parents were both staring at me as if I were a Martian. "Didn't you hear it?" I cried. They shook their heads. I turned to the piano. No one was there, of course. I hurried over to the piano bench, leaned down, and rubbed my hand over the surface. It was warm. "Someone was sitting here, I can tell," I exclaimed. "Not funny," Mom said, making a face. "Not funny, Jerry," Dad echoed. "You came down here to pull some kind of joke, didn't you?" He accused. "Huh? Me?" "Don't play innocent, Jerome," Mom said, rolling her eyes. "We know you. You're never innocent." "I wasn't playing a joke," I cried angrily. "I heard music. Someone playing." "Who?" Dad demanded. "Who was playing?" "Maybe it was Bonkers," Mom joked. Dad laughed, but I didn't. "What was the joke, Jerry? What were you planning to do?" Dad asked. "Were you going to do something to the piano?" Mom demanded, staring at me hard. So hard I could practically feel it. That is a valuable instrument, you know. I sighed wearily. I felt so frustrated. I wanted to shout, scream, throw a fit, maybe slug them both. "The piano is haunted," I shouted. The words just popped into my head. "Huh?" It's Dad's turn to give me a hard stare. "It must be haunted," I insisted, my voice shaking. "It keeps playing, but there's no one playing it." "I've heard enough," Mom muttered, shaking her head. "I am going back to bed." "Ghosts, huh?" Dad asked, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. He stepped up to me and lowered his head, the way he does when he's about to unload something serious. "Listen, Jerry, I know this house might seem old and kind of scary, and I know how hard it was for you to leave your friends behind and move away." "Dad, please," I interrupted, but he kept going. "The house is just old, Jerry. Old and a little run down. But that doesn't mean it's haunted. These ghosts of yours, don't you see? They're really your fears coming out." Dad was a psychology major in college. "Skip the lecture, Dad," I told him. "I'm going to bed." "Okay, Jer," he said, patting my shoulder. "Remember, in a few weeks, you'll know I'm right. In a few weeks, this ghost business will all seem silly to you." Boy, was he wrong. I slammed my locker shut and started to pull on my jacket. The long school hallway echoed with laughing voices, slamming lockers, calls, and shouts. The halls were always noisier on Friday afternoons. School was over, and the weekend was here. "Oh, what's that smell?" I cried, making a disgusting face. Beside me, a girl was down on her knees, pawing through a pile of junk on the floor of her locker. "I wondered where that apple disappeared to," she exclaimed. She climbed to her feet, holding a shriveled brown apple in one hand. The sour aroma invaded my nostrils. I thought I was going to hurl. I must have been making a funny face because she burst out laughing. Hungry? She pushed the disgusting thing in my face. No, thanks. I pushed it back toward her. You can have it. She laughed again. She was kind of pretty. She had long, straight black hair and green eyes. She set the rotten apple down on the floor. You're the new kid, right? She said. I'm Kim Lee Chin. Hi, I said. I told her my name. Oh, you're in my math class. Oh, in science class, I told her. She turned back to her locker, searching for more stuff. I know, she replied. I saw you fall off your chair when Mrs. Klein called on you. I just did that to be funny. I explained quickly. I didn't really fall. I know, she said. She pulled a heavy gray wool sweater down over her lighter sweater. Then she reached down and removed a black violin case from her locker. Is that your lunchbox? I joked. I'm late for my violin lesson, she answered, slamming her locker shut. She struggled to push the padlock closed. I'm taking piano lessons, I told her. Well, I just started. You know, I live across the street from you, she said, adjusting her backpack over her shoulder. I watched you move in. Really? I replied, surprised. Well, maybe you could come over and we could play together. Play music. I'm taking lessons every Saturday with Dr. Shriek. Her mouth dropped open in horror and she stared at me. You're doing what? She cried. Taking piano lessons with Dr. Shriek, I repeated. Oh. She uttered a soft cry, spun around and began running toward the front door. Hey, Kim! I called after her. Kim, what's wrong? But she disappeared out the door. Chapter 8. Excellent hands. Excellent, Dr. Shriek declared. Thanks, I replied awkwardly. I was seated at the piano bench, hunched over the piano, my hands spread over the keys. Dr. Shriek stood beside me, staring down at my hands. Now play the piece again, he instructed, raising his blue eyes to mine. His smile faded beneath his white mustache as his expression turned serious. Play it carefully, my boy, slowly and carefully. Concentrate on your fingers. Each finger is alive. Remember, alive. What a weird thought, I told myself. My fingers are alive. I began to play, concentrating on the notes on the sheet music propped above the keyboard. It was a simple melody, a beginner's piece by Bach. I thought it sounded pretty good. The fingers! The fingers! Dr. Shriek cried. He leaned down toward the keyboard, bringing his face close to mine. Remember, the fingers are alive. What's with this guy and fingers? I asked myself. I finished the piece. I glanced up to see a frown darken his face. Pretty good, Jerry, he said softly. Now let us try it a bit faster. I goofed up the middle part, I confessed. You lost your concentration, he replied. He reached down and spread my fingers over the keys. Again, he instructed. But faster, and concentrate. Concentrate on your hands. I took a deep breath and began the piece again. But this time I messed up immediately. I started over. It sounded pretty good. Only a few clunkers. I wondered if Mom and Dad could hear it. Then I remembered they had gone grocery shopping. Dr. Shriek and I were alone in the house. I finished the piece and lowered my hands to my lap with a sigh. Not bad. Now faster, Dr. Shriek ordered. Maybe we should try another piece, I suggested. This is getting kind of boring. Faster this time, he replied, totally ignoring me. The hands, Jerry. Remember the hands. They're alive. Let them breathe. Let them breathe? I stared down at my hands, expecting them to talk back to me. Begin, Dr. Shriek instructed sternly, leaning over me. Faster. Sighing, I began to play again, the same boring tune. "Faster!" the instructor cried. "Faster, Jerry!" I played faster. My fingers moved over the keys, pounding them hard. I tried to concentrate on the notes, but I was playing too fast for my eyes to keep up. "Faster!" Dr. Shriek cried excitedly, staring down at the keyboard. "That's it! Faster, Jerry!" My fingers were moving so fast they were a blur. "Faster! Faster!" Was I playing the right notes? I couldn't tell. It was too fast to hear. "Faster, Jerry!" Dr. Shriek instructed, screaming at the top of his lungs. "Faster! The hands are alive! Alive!" "I can't do it," I cried. "Please! Faster! Faster!" "I can't," I insisted. It was too fast to play, too fast to hear. I tried to stop, but my hands kept going. "Stop! Stop!" I screamed down at them in horror. "Faster! Play faster!" Dr. Shriek ordered, his eyes wide with excitement, his face bright red. "The hands are alive!" "No, please, stop!" I called down to my hands, "Stop playing!" But they really were alive. They wouldn't stop. My fingers flew over the keys. A crazy tidal wave of notes flooded the family room. "Faster! Faster!" the instructor ordered. And despite my frightened cries to stop, my hands gleefully obeyed him, playing on, faster and faster and faster. Chapter 9. Faster and faster the music swirled around me. "It's choking me," I thought, gasping for breath. I can't breathe. I struggled to stop my hands, but they moved frantically over the keyboard, playing louder, louder. My hands began to ache. They throbbed with pain, but still they played, faster, louder, until I woke up. I sat up in bed, wide awake, and realized I was sitting on my hands. They both tingled painfully, pins and needles. My hands had fallen asleep. I had been asleep. The weird piano lesson, it was a dream. Strange nightmare. "It's still Friday night," I said aloud. The sound of my voice helped bring me out of the dream. I shook my hands, trying to get the circulation going, trying to stop the uncomfortable tingling. My forehead was sweating, a cold sweat. My entire body felt clammy. The pajama shirt stuck damply to my back. I shuddered, suddenly chilled, and realized the piano music hadn't stopped. I gasped and gripped the bed covers tightly. Holding my breath, I listened. The notes floated into my dark bedroom. Not the frantic roar of notes from my dream, the slow, sad melody I had heard before. Still trembling from my frightening dream, I climbed silently out of bed. The music floated up from the family room, so soft, so mournful. Who is playing down there? My hands still tingled as I made my way over the cold floorboards to the doorway. I stopped in the hall and listened. The tune ended, then began again. Tonight, I am going to solve this mystery, I told myself. My heart was pounding. My entire body was tingling now, pins and needles up and down my back. Ignoring how frightened I felt, I walked quickly down the hall to the stairway. The dim night light down near the floor made my shadow rise up on the wall. It startled me for a moment. I hung back. But then I hurried down the stairs, leaning hard on the banister to keep the steps from creaking. The piano music grew louder as I crossed the dark living room. Nothing is going to stop me tonight, I told myself. Nothing. Tonight, I am going to see who is playing the piano. The music continued. Soft, high notes, so light and sad. I tiptoed carefully through the dining room, holding my breath, listening to the music. I stepped up to the doorway to the family room. The music continued, a little louder, the same melody, over and over. Peering into the darkness, I stepped into the room. One step, another. The piano was only a few feet in front of me. The music was so clear, so close. But I couldn't see anyone on the piano bench. I couldn't see anyone there at all. Who is playing? Who is playing this sad, sad music in the darkness? Trembling all over, I took another step, and another. Who's there? I called out in a choked whisper. I stopped. My hands knotted tensely into tight fists at my side. I stared hard into the blackness, straining to see. The music continued. I could hear fingers on the keys, hear the slide of feet on the pedals. Who's there? Who's playing? My voice was tiny and shrill. There's no one here, I realized to my horror. The piano is playing, but there's no one here. Then, slowly, very slowly, like a gray cloud forming in the night sky, the ghost began to appear. Wow, what a lot happened in this episode. We met Kim, a seemingly friendly but frightened classmate who alluded to some spooky stories. I hope that we see more of Kim. Jerry started his piano lessons in earnest and had an experience with Dr. Shriek that I think was not totally a dream. And at the end, we discover that there is indeed a ghost. Jerry's prediction of the piano being haunted was right. I'm excited to see what happens next. Thanks for sticking through it. And see you next time.